Welcome back to the Standing Room Only Podcast, episode 57. This is a pretty big episode for us today. NBA is back. We're going to be going over the first games from every single team except the Rockets and Thunder due to COVID. We're going to be going over our NBA awards predictions and our finals matchup. So I hope you guys are excited for that. We're going to be talking a little about baseball, and we are going to be talking about football a little bit towards the end, but another basketball heavy episode. As always, you can follow us on social media at SROnlyPod on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure to download this episode. It's the best way to show support. It's pretty much the only way we know how many people are listening every single week. So make sure to do that. You can always delete the download if you need space. Also, make sure to leave a rating on Spotify or Apple if you're listening there. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, we appreciate you. Make sure to leave a like on the video. Our personal pages, you can follow myself at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitch and YouTube, it's Healy6.
And then you can also follow me, iGoose with 4 O's. I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I am on Twitch as well. Go ahead and check me out, guys.
So yeah, we're going to start off with the baseball, get that news out of the way. Initially, Tommy Kahnle signed a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He did have a year left of team control with the Yankees, but he did have Tommy John surgery back in August, which means he's not even going to be pitching for this upcoming season. And the Dodgers went out, they got him. He'll be there the following season. He might be able to pitch towards playoff time, but with Tommy John surgery, getting the surgery in August pretty much eliminates this whole season. I know Yankees fans were a little sad that he is gone. He was a big fan favorite there. But the Yankees did the right move. There's no need to pay someone for a year that they aren't playing. It's kind of, I've seen this happen in recent years with pitchers as well. It's kind of odd how teams do pay pitchers for a year where you know they aren't even going to play.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I just looking at that contract, 2 years, 4.75 mil.
That's not
The way
bad, actually.
It's not. I'm looking at it as a 1-year 4.75 mil. You're just basically keeping him. You're like, hey, I'm going to offer you a little bit of security. We're going to give you this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to pitch. And clearly, we don't know what we're going to get from you after the surgery. Clearly, with the Tommy John surgery, sports science, sports medicine, guys come back and their velocity turns up and they always have a successful surgery and come back better, right? So I think for the Dodgers, it's a good move. He's not a bad pitcher. 31 years old. He's making $750,000 this season as he rehabs, and then he gets like a $550,000 signing bonus. And so then his salary on top of that, he's going to get the $3.45 million for 2022. So basically, what they're paying him for, what it seems like, is we're going to pay you to be a Dodger, to rehab as a Dodger, and we're going to see what you have, and you're going to make this salary. But year 2 is where you're going to make the bulk of that, because you're going to come back at, 31? He's going to be coming back at 32. And 32 is not a bad age. 32 is still a good age, especially with baseball nowadays. You can get relief pitchers going to their late 30s, realistically. So I think it's a good move, and I try not to look at the 2-year 4.75. I'm looking more at the 1-year 4.75, which for baseball isn't bad. Obviously, some pitchers get paid a lot, especially relief pitchers.
Yeah,
they can get paid a lot. Let's put it, not all of them, but they can.
the contract.
So I think it's
the contract breakdown makes it way better of a deal. Like, I thought it was going to be split up, but yeah, they're paying him barely anything. Their payroll's already massive, so it's not like it's taking up a chunk. And he's barely getting paid next year as a reliever.
And you got to think that, sure, they won't have him this year, but no other team is going to have him 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way, they're kind of taking him off the market all in all, which is good. So I think it's a good move by the Dodgers. I'm still expecting them to compete at a high level for the next few years. So it's definitely a good move.
Yeah, I was in Tommy Kahnle's Madden franchise last year, trying to get in it this year. So hopefully I can. He does stream on Twitch. He's another big Twitch guy. Who knows? Maybe I could get him on here one day. We'll have to see. But another move that happened in baseball, Josh Bell got traded to the Nationals. He got traded for Eddie Ying. And Will Crow, actually, no, Will Crow, a little bit, helped him out get his 99 in MLB The Show. So Will
Nice.
Crow, it's going to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Josh Bell, he still has 2 years left on his deal, is going to the Nationals. I think it'll be good for both sides. The Nationals or the Pirates are getting some pitching prospects, including Will Crow. Will Crow is he's like a starter, so sitting behind Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and
Hmm.
some of the other guys, it's kind of tough to break into that rotation. So he's going to go to the Pirates. He should be able to pitch here soon. We know the Pirates aren't the best organization. They don't have the best farm system. They don't have the best future as of now. They're kind of questionable there. But as a
Hmm.
player in general, especially a young guy, you want playing time. Got to get it somehow. So it's at that point, you might as well take it, grow in that experience. You could become a stud in Pittsburgh, or you could just be a decent player, grind out the years that you're there, and then get a
Yep.
big contract somewhere else. You got to get that service time
Exactly.
somehow.
Yeah, I think that works out for them well. Like you said, they don't have a future, right? So you bring in somebody who may provide light on the future. If he ends up being good, like you said, or if he grinds out enough, he'll end up starting somewhere else with a good contract. But say, well, then the trade pays off. You get rid of Josh Bell, who's still young. He's like what, 28? Not a
Yeah.
bad player by all means. I mean, he's had his ups and downs, but you get rid of him, you get some pitching. Obviously, if you don't have a good farm system, it's pretty safe to say the future is never bright. So if you bring him in and he ends up doing good, well, Pittsburgh fans, you might have a stud for the next few years. So we'll see what ends
Mm-hmm.
up happening there.
And Josh Bell just wasn't doing so well in Pittsburgh. He has a
Hmm.
career 814 average, which is, or OPS, which is heavily influenced from that 2019 season. He had a
Yep.
936 OPS in that season, but in the first half of the season, he had a pretty large OPS split there. In the first half, he had a 1,000 OPS. He had 27 home runs. Second half of the season, 10 home runs, 780 OPS. This past season, he put up a 669 OPS. It's not good. He's a career 261, 349 average on base percentage guy. He was getting a little bit better this year, kind of set him back. And I think it's good that they flipped him. Like, one guy doesn't make or break the team. He had value. They got rid of him. He's going to a nice Washington Nationals team. He's going to be hitting with Juan Soto in that lineup, Trey
Yep.
Turner, Victor Robles. They have a lot of decent pieces in that lineup. First base, kind of one that they needed. Ryan Zimmerman could be back. I don't know if he's a free agent, but I know Ryan Zimmerman was at first base role. He opted out for the 2020 season. And switch hitter, always good. Maybe he
Yep.
plays way better now that he has some protection in that lineup.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the fact that he's a switch hitter. I mean, that definitely helps Washington as well. Switch hitting's important. I mean, if you can do it, if you can grab a switch hitter, go do it. I mean, clearly there's rotation, and obviously with the pitching rules now, you kind of have no choice but to pitch whatever the minimum is before you can. It's not like how it was before. But yeah, him being a switch hitter, this year was tough. I don't know if I want to say he had a bad year because obviously everybody only played like 60 games, if that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go off the year before, I mean, he had a huge turnaround. Granted, he's probably never going to be a 300 hitter. I just don't see it happening.
No.
But if you can get a guy like him to smack 30, 35 home runs and consistently bat 275, I think that's a win. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's a win because he's not gonna be your first or second batter, which I think Pirates might have had him in that part a few times in their rotation. But if you can bat him fourth, fifth, or sixth, and he's batting at 275, he's a good cleanup. He's not a bad cleanup hitter.
Yeah. Like, I don't like looking at the 2020 stats for like
Mhm.
decent players that had bad years, but the fact that
Yeah,
his 2019 second half carried into 2020, that's where it looks bad. He
that's
batted
where it looks. Yeah,
three,
yeah.
4, and then he got as low as 9 last year. Oh well, he pinch hit. He pinch hit a couple times. But he batted 3 through 6 last year, starting games. So we'll see if he could turn it around in Washington. Pretty decent pickup for them. I hope he does well there because Josh Bell, when he hits baseballs, it's fun to watch. They go
Oh yeah.
super far. He doesn't have a river to hit him in anymore, but he can still hit him far in Washington.
That's a World Series winning team just a couple of years ago, so maybe it'll spark something for him. I mean, there's nothing like going to a team that's won recently, right?
Hmm.
So I think it'll be a good move, and we'll see what ends up happening with Pittsburgh. I highly doubt they're going to be a contender, well, for a while, but you never know. You never know. Will Crow might spark something as well.
Hmm. But that's it for all the baseball news this week. If we missed anything, sorry. Just didn't seem like there was much news in the past week or so. I'm just excited to get on to the basketball talk. We have
Oh
seen
yeah.
almost every single team compete besides the Rockets and Thunder, which is unfortunate because wanted to see John Wall with James Harden. Fortunately, they had less than 8 guys able to play due to COVID protocols. No one had COVID, but due to protocols, they don't want this rapidly spreading again. They called that game. Might be able to play on Saturday, though. There's no games here on Christmas Eve. There's going to be games tomorrow, though, for Christmas. But going over the recap from Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll start off with Tuesday. Golden State and Brooklyn both played, and man, the Nets look good. They beat Golden State by 26 points. There was a lot of discussion about is Golden State actually this bad, or are the Nets this good? I think it's a little bit of both, but I think it's a majority. The Nets are just this good. The Nets look
Ye-
awesome, and I hope they don't trade for James Harden.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. We talked about it leading up to it. We were excited to see what Kevin Durant we were going to see. We've never seen a bad Kevin Durant, but obviously with injuries, you don't know. Is Golden State a bad team? No, I think they're actually a good team. I think with the addition of Kelly Oubre, they added James Wiseman from the draft, who didn't look bad. Steph Curry did, 20 points in 30 minutes.
They were
But on
without
the other
Draymond
side,
Green.
yeah, and they're without Draymond Green, exactly. Who I mean, don't you got to give the guy credit. Granted, he's fallen off a little bit, but he's still a defensive intensity. He's a very physical player. But at the end of the day, when you have Kevin Durant, who has not lost a step, Kyrie Irving, who is still balling out, those two together is scary. Now you add in the factor of Karis LeVert coming on in off the bench, who's I think is going to be a sixth man. Spencer Dinwiddie, who is great. He can play. He stepped up last year in so many games and in other games where guys were hurt, when Kyrie was hurt. DeAndre Jordan in the paint. We've talked about Jared Allen in the paint. We talked about all these important factors. And I remember you texted me, you were like, hey, look at that score. And Brooklyn got off to a huge jump. They outscored them 40-25 in the first quarter. Joe Harris was scoring. I think he had 6 in the first quarter of his 10. And they got such a huge lead at that point, they coasted. They had so many guys coming off the bench because they had such a huge lead. I don't want to take anything away from Golden State. Sold on Andrew Wiggins. I don't know about Kelly Oubre. I think he's a solid player. Not sold on him. But I think Brooklyn is it. I think Brooklyn is the team in the East right now that's going to compete with Boston, Milwaukee, and I think Atlanta's super good right now. I don't know about Philadelphia yet. They always are a contender, but I don't know about you, man, but I'm excited. This East just got a little bit scarier after watching game 1 of Kevin Durant back.
Mm-hmm. Didn't lose a step at all. Him and
Oh no.
Kyrie combined for like 20 of their first 26 points. They only played 25 minutes apiece. And if they could win games like that, they could rest in like the second half of games and not use them
Exactly.
as much.
Kevin
Without,
Durant played 25 minutes and Kyrie played just over 25 minutes. You're talking about guys during their championship runs were averaging 30 to 35 minutes a game. If you can limit these guys to 26 minutes a game and you let these other guys step up and get ready for the play, I mean, everybody's going to play their part. Brooklyn is ahead of the game right now.
mm-hmm. They're one of the teams I said I wanted to watch every game of.
Yep.
Another team I said I wanted to watch every game of, the Lakers. They went up against the Clippers. They lost game 1. People were the Twitter overreactions this week were hilarious. They were talking about Golden State, Steph being washed, and the Lakers, what's happening with them? They got all these guys. It's like, it's game one. They faced a very tough Clippers team. The Clippers picked up like one new addition, while the Lakers
Mhm.
have a whole brand new rotation around them.
Oh, yeah.
Got better with them, but whole brand new rotation. They lost by 7 points.
Yeah, it was a good matchup. I mean, the Clippers in the first quarter dominated, and then all of a sudden the next quarter, Lakers dominated, and it was just a close run from that point. Kawhi did his job. Paul George, I don't know if anybody paid attention to the guy that just got paid that everybody thought was overpaid. Paul George balled out. He played 35 minutes, had 33 points in that game. And everybody else, I mean, Lou Williams came off the bench, didn't really do too crazy, but he hit the point. The bucket said he had a hit. But yeah, I agree. Twitter world was overreacting with this Lakers loss. It's going to happen. Anthony Davis had, I would say, a little bit of an off game. LeBron clearly had an off game. But like you mentioned, these guys are playing with a whole new rotation. Marc Gasol's new, Dennis Schroeder's new, Montrezl Harrell's new. Like all these guys are brand new. And who knows, at some point they're probably going to start to get Talon Horton Tucker into the mix, who had a huge preseason game. So I think right now it's with one game. I think Twitter world needs to chill. I still think the Lakers should be the more dominant team. But the Clippers, they looked good. I like this new little look to the Clippers with Serge Ibaka. Obviously they still have their core with Kawhi and Paul George, Pat Beverly. They had Serge Ibaka. They have Nicholas Batum, who's been in the league quite a while, who's actually pretty good. So I don't know. I think it was a good matchup. It was a good game. Obviously, the Lakers received their rings. Ultimately, the Clippers won, but we'll see what ends up happening later on in the season with those two, because we're gonna see those two go off a lot.
Those are the two games on Tuesday. Wednesday, our team, the Chicago Bulls, played, and man, I was so excited. And
And then you
Patrick
weren't.
Williams started, and I kind of wish I didn't spend my time watching that game, and I could have watched another good game that night. At 6 minutes left in the third quarter, the Hawks were up 100 to like 62. 100 points halfway through the third quarter.
It was a bad game. It was just overall. I mean, let's face it. Outside of the Bulls starting five and maybe their sixth man, which apparently is going to be Otto Porter Jr. Outside of that, they don't have much. Chandler Hutchinson is not going to offer much. Daniel Gafford should. He only played 16 minutes, didn't really do much. Atlanta's got some talent in the paint. Um, I yeah, I was definitely disappointed. Kobe White put up 9 points and Wendell put up 6. These are two guys who should be averaging at least 15, close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe White shot 2 of 11, and this is the problem we get with Kobe White. He shoots until he gets hot, and which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But it's bad in games like this when you are relied on to shoot the ball 10, 11, 12, sometimes 15 times a game, and you're only scoring maybe 20% from the field. You're 1 of 7 from 3. It just wasn't it. I mean, he had 7 assists, which is good. He's facilitating, but I expect Kobe White to turn it around. He's going to have to in order for the Bulls to win any games, because Zach LaVine had a Zach LaVine game. Zach LaVine had 22 points, doesn't really fill up the stat sheet anywhere else. There's a lot of talks of him being a defensive monster this year because of how athletic he is and how athletic he's been. He's trying to bring in that aspect. Didn't really do much there, but you can't really do much defensively against a team like the Atlanta Hawks when they have Trae Young, who can just shoot threes all game long. 37 points in only 26 minutes for Trae Young. Awesome game for him. I'm actually super excited for Trae Young.
Yeah, 10 of 12. I think he was still playing like in the late third, fourth quarter,
Mhm.
which I guess at this early in the season and the Hawks for not really playing on like since March, you kind of have to. But it's always scary when your star's out there in a game that's over.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it firsthand with what's his name? Derrick Rose. 2 minutes left in a game and you're up like 9 or 10 points or 12 points or something. It was like a minute 30 and he tears his ACL. I mean, that's you got to be careful with that. Obviously, you want these guys to finish strong. You always teach guys finish strong. You see it in the NFL, guys going all the way until the game is for sure over, which this one was. But I mean, Bulls fans, Lauri Markkanen had a solid game. Zach LaVine looked good. Pat Williams in his first professional game at the age of 19, who's only going to learn and get better. 16 points. He had a steal. He had a block. Not a bad game. Didn't shoot too well. Shot 5 of 11. But for a man's first game in the NBA at his age, I'm kind of impressed. I'm impressed. He's only going to get better. And it, I don't know where I'm sold at with the Bulls as far as an over under on their wins for the season, but I still think we have a lot to be excited about until we don't. so so yeah, that was obviously another big game that we were on the lookout for. I still think we need a few more games, and this is what I said too with Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan, we're going to see different rotations. We're going to see games where Pat Williams probably doesn't start. We're probably going to see Otto Porter start a lot of games too, until we realize where these guys work best. In the NBA, there's guys where you're like, man, how come this guy scores so much in this amount of time, but he comes off the bench? Well, that's just the role. Everybody has their role. And I think Billy Donovan is going to develop that from a coaching standpoint. And he has to see exactly the regular season. The competition is a little bit different than in the preseason. There's a reason to play. So we're going to see, I'm willing to bet we're going to see more Daniel Gafford moving forward too.
I
16
hope
minutes to
so.
me, 16 minutes isn't enough time with a guy like him, especially against a team with the Hawks who, yeah, Danilo Gallinari is a big guy, but they were without Clint Capella. They had John Collins playing center, who isn't the biggest center in the league. So you're telling me you don't put in Daniel Gafford for the size, and Wendell Carter's not doing anything in the game. To me, I think that's something they're going to go look at and say, well, you know what? Maybe next time let's give Gafford these minutes. Let's see what Gafford does. Let's use his size. Because obviously we know Wendell Carter is a very undersized center in this league.
I just saw a fun fact. Trae Young, his 37 points are the most scored in a game on 12 or fewer field goal attempts in the shot clock era.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Trae Young is nice, man. He is nice.
And like the Bulls, they got stomped, but this Atlanta Hawks team is going to be a threat this year, and it's showing already.
This was my team to be on the lookout for last year during the season. I said, not this year, but be on the lookout. And they made moves. I didn't even think that they would go out and grab, Rondo for the playoff push
Bogdan.
or Bogdan Bogdanovic. They obviously have Clint Capella, Chris Dunn, who is going to start coming off the bench eventually, who brings a defensive intensity. Danilo Gallinari. I like this team. I'm sold on the pair of Trae Young and John Collins. Obviously, we saw them play live, and the fact that John Collins can smack the three ball, and Trae Young can do it, and Trae Young can drive. It's going to be an impressive team to watch. They're going to compete. They're for sure going to compete with all the typical top four that we always talk about in the sports world. So
Yeah. And then the fourth team, I said I wanted to watch large majority of their games. They won, was the Phoenix Suns.
oh
They beat
yeah,
the Dallas Mavericks. That was a fun game to watch. I had it on. I was gaming last night, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see. Like, I get it's game one of the year, but you're going to see battles between the Mavericks and Suns all season long. Devin
yep.
Booker put up 22, 5, and 3. You had Chris Paul put up 8, 4, and 5. Didn't do the best shooting wise, but he's there. You had Michael Bridges scored 18 points. Cameron Johnson scored 15. Langston
Yeah,
Galloway
Cameron
scored
Johnson
11.
was huge off the bench there. Actually, their bench did very well to combine for over almost 40 points on the bench. You do that, and your starters are, you have a couple guys in the starters, such as Devin Booker and Michael Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, who had a semi-okay game. He did good defensively. Obviously, Dallas is without Kristaps. We don't know when he's coming back. He's rehabbing from his injury. Apparently, he looks good. Apparently he looks good. The progress looks good. So we'll end up seeing what happens there. I think Dallas is a contender for sure. Um, Even without Kristaps, the fact that Phoenix was able to compete and beat Mavericks, who are a pretty good team. They have Josh Richardson, they have Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., who has his games. That's a huge victory right there. That's a moral victory, and I think moving forward, as the Suns, you will take every victory. Chris Paul is going to teach these guys every game, play one game at a time. And when you win, we're going to ride that high horse. Chris Paul is a winner. Chris Paul does not need to put up 20, 30 points and 12 assists every game. He's going to get these young guys going, just like we talked about. And let's not forget, they have Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder is that guy who is that role player. Randomly, he'll put up 30 points or 25 points randomly. We don't expect it, but he goes in and he's that role player. He's like a Tony Allen to me. He's going to play hard on defense. He'll end up smacking the three ball late in the game. So you match that with DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, obviously Chris Paul.
Dario Saric.
Yeah.
He didn't even play. Saric didn't even play.
Nope, he did not play. And they have some other guys too, that stepped up. Cameron Johnson was great in college. He played with Kobe White, I'm pretty sure. And so, and some other guys like Cameron Payne, I don't know. I'm not sold on him. He has randomly good games and then he has some bad games, hot and cold. But yeah. But in that game as well, Luka Doncic looked very nice. 32 points, 8 boards, 5 assists. I'm liking Luka, man. He's very young, very young. He's only 21. He's getting better every year. Every single year he is improving. And I'm excited to see moving forward for what Luka Doncic is gonna do.
Yeah, so those are the 4 teams I was super excited to see this year. We already had a pretty great thriller game with Boston and Milwaukee. Jason Tatum hitting the game winner. It was a bank shot, but still, it's a game winner. Don't disrespect Tatum. He put it up over Giannis. And I heard Giannis missed a free throw late in the game as well, which hurt them.
To tie the game. He got fouled after the game. So it was a game winner. There was 0.4 of a second left. They inbound to Giannis. Giannis gets the ball. He gets fouled by Tristan Thompson. Hits the first free throw. Makes it a 1-point game. Second free throw missed. Somehow almost managed to get his hand on the ball for a tip. Didn't happen. Luckily, they did kind of shut him down a little bit. But yeah, nail biter to say the least. Boston in the playoffs this past season had nothing but nail biters in the playoffs against Miami, and I like Boston. I like Jason Tatum. He has proven game in, game out over the last couple of years that he is in it for the long haul. You add in Jaylen Brown, who is obviously a very good scorer, and the fact that they have Tristan Thompson this year. They didn't have him last year. So I think Boston's going to be a good, fun team to watch. We're going to see a lot of battles with Boston and Milwaukee. On the other end, Milwaukee played well. You're going to lose games. Giannis dominated, 13 boards, 35 points, 2 blocks, typical Giannis game. But guess what? Remember who they added this past offseason? They grabbed at point guard. They ended up grabbing Drew Holiday. Yeah, Drew Holiday, who had 25 points in the game. Drew Holiday is a guy who can fill it up offensively and fill it up defensively. He had 2 steals. He had a block. You had Chris Middleton. They're starting 5. You don't need much from Brook Lopez. You don't need much from him. I think Brook Lopez has to go. I don't know what they're going to have to do, but I think personally, at some point, they have Bobby Portis this year on their team. I feel like maybe Bobby Portis should start at center over Brook Lopez, considering Brook Lopez is older. He's on the slower side, and he has not been getting any better, obviously. So I think at some point we see Bobby Portis kind of slide his way into the center position. You have a younger talent, and Bobby Portis can kind of shoot the ball when he needs to. So I think Milwaukee, it's a loss, but there's a victory deep down. It's the first game of the season. It was a tough loss. It was a free throw missed. For Giannis, he's going to come back and he's going to continue to dominate. I think it was a good game for both teams. Huge game for both teams. Even though one team had to lose, it was an important game.
Funny how, like you mentioned about Brook Lopez, but just taking this single game stat from this, he led the team and he was like one of the only people positive. He led the team with a plus 22 plus minus,
Isn't
which
it
doesn't
crazy how
doesn't
it
really make
works?
sense.
It's
Like,
that plus minus makes a difference. I mean, there's stats that don't go on paper. There's literally stats. There's not a stat that says, "Hey, you are running to your position at the perfect time on every play." You know what I mean? There's just certain stats that don't go accounted for. So Brook Lopez being in the league for 12, 13 years, he's been around, he's had played in playoff series. He knows what he's doing out there, but he's not producing. And I think
mhm,
at some point, we talked about it, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, they're good players, but they just are not it for Giannis. They
mhm.
still need another piece for them to actually compete for a finals. I still think they're good. They're great in the East, but Brook Lopez, I don't think is it.
The last fun matchup we will talk about before we just go into talking about players that performed well. Washington and Philadelphia. They had a great game down the stretch. Russell Westbrook made his debut with the Wizards. The 76ers came out again. Westbrook dropped 21, 11, and 15, dropped a triple double. He's back to his Russell Westbrook form. 9 of 22 from the field, but you had Bradley Beal drop 30 points. Bertans dropped 14. Then you had Thomas Bryant, who dropped 10. And then from the Sixers side, you had Embiid, who got 29, 14, and 2. Ben Simmons had 16, 7, or 16, 9, and 7. So he was
Mhm.
getting close to a triple double there. Dwight Howard had 10 boards off the bench. That was in
Huge.
13 minutes. He's going to be huge for that team.
Oh, yeah.
But that's another fun Eastern matchup. The Wizards are now probably a playoff team. They should be a lock for a playoff team, and I just
Oh,
love the
yeah.
competitiveness that's coming out of the
Yeah.
East right now.
Yeah. I watching the highlights, Russell Westbrook. He's playing with the passion. I'm seeing him. He's getting into it on the sideline with Dwight Howard. Do I think he's yapping a little too early? Was it an and one that maybe he should have just made the layup anyways? Yeah, but you love to see the passion from Russ. You want to see him win. He knows he has a huge opportunity here, pairing up with Bradley Beal, Denny, a young Thomas Bryant who kind of shined last season, especially during that final run in Orlando. Great guys. Troy Brown off the bench. Russell Westbrook has an opportunity to lead this team to the playoffs simply because they're in the East. And like you mentioned, we haven't seen triple double Russ in quite a while to where he's averaging a triple double every game. 15 assists and 20 points. That's the Russ that we saw a few years ago consistently. It's a matter of time that before we start seeing it again, because between him and Bradley Beal, who else is really going to manage the basketball? There's not too many that can.
Mm-hmm.
I also like
Oh,
Joel Embiid, 29
yeah.
and 14. I was going to say Joel Embiid, I can't take anything away from him ever. I always expect I still think Joel Embiid is top 5 center in the game, if not top 3.
Mm-hmm. He's so good.
Yeah.
Other notable like player performances: John Morant dropped 42 points yesterday. Same with
Oh
Terry
man.
Rozier from the
Yeah,
Hornets.
he had 42.
And the opposite of scoring points, LaMelo Ball went scoreless in his NBA regular season debut.
Horrible.
That he showed like the rookies this year though, they have a different transition compared to previous years. They played 3 preseason games and they're already thrown into a regular season in which a lot of these players haven't had the longest off season.
Yeah.
So they're just getting tossed right into the mix. 0 for 5 from the field, had 1 board, 3 assists. He didn't start. He only played 15 minutes. Yeah, his shooting woes. We'll see if he can turn it around, but that was one of his draft negatives to him.
Yeah, and another negative to that is he's not afraid to just keep shooting. So he did have a bad game. He also had a bad game in the preseason, which he also ended up having a really good game in the preseason. I still think that Charlotte is one of those teams where we don't know their identity quite yet. I think their starting 5 that we saw is going to be their starting 5 moving forward. Devontae Graham only put up 10 points, but he also had 10 assists. Um, Terry Rozier, 42 points. That's, I mean, it's going to be hard to start over any of those two guys with the numbers that they put up. Obviously, PJ Washington, who's pretty good, only put up 4 points. Gordon Hayward had a great game, 28 points from Hayward. So he's kind of hushing the haters a little bit. So, but yeah, it was in a losing effort to Cleveland, who we like. I mean, I like Cleveland. I think Cleveland has a potential to maybe be almost a 500 team. Darius Garland is proven that he's can score when he needs to. Colin Sexton obviously has been great. He's good last year. Andre Drummond, we've seen with Detroit. So I say this is a good matchup here. I think Cleveland is going to battle. Charlotte's going to battle. They're going to be battling for maybe an 8th, 7th seed. I don't know what we're going to get from Charlotte quite yet. LaMelo Ball, I think, is definitely going to be needed to step up, though.
Yep. And going back to Ja dropping 42 points.
Oh, man.
The Grizzlies might hop on my list of teams to watch this year. That kid is so good. It's his second year, and he's looking like he's going to be even better.
I agree. I do agree with you. My only issue is it took him to put up 44 points and for them to still lose by 12. They competed last year. They were almost if it wasn't for COVID, they could have finished an 8th seed. I mean, they were right there. John Morant is getting better. It's gonna come down to the talent around him. I think they're definitely a team to watch. Brandon Clark is really good. Grayson Allen, I don't know what we're gonna get from Grayson Allen yet. We've been waiting a couple years for him to kind of shine because he was obviously great at Duke. But yeah, man, Ja Morant was definitely my biggest surprise. And I know he's a good, great player. I just didn't think he was a 44-point basketball player yet in his career. And he did it against the Spurs team.
Mm-hmm. If you're holding on to your John Morant cards and you kind of wanted to sell while the value was kind of high right before the season started, probably good that you've held on to them. I know a friend that was going to sell some of his, and they were going for like $1,500 a piece. That value is probably way higher now and will continue to get higher.
Wow. Especially if he continues to do what he's doing day in and day out. And man, watching him just drive and just go up there. This guy gets hang time.
That
His hang
accidental
time is
alley-oop
nuts. Oh,
to
man.
himself.
To himself, yeah. And I mean, there was nothing he can do. He thought so quickly. I mean, literally had half a second to think because the lane closed on him, had nowhere to pass it off the backboard. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
That's a vintage move that we've only seen very few guys actually able to do in a game. One of those games was an all-star game, Tracy McGrady. So for him to do it in a regular game, in a game where they still kind of had a chance to win. I mean, obviously they ended up losing by 12. It was just a great game, man. I mean, 9 assists as well. He got it going. This is year 2 for John Morant. And I mean, to be fair, he did play almost, I would say, considerably a full season last year, 67 games with the whole COVID situation. As of right now, he is averaging like 28 points a game more than he was averaging last year. So I know we're talking about awards and we're going to get to that here in a moment, but man, guys, if you are a Grizzlies fan, just get ready. Get your popcorn ready. I know there's this battle between John Morant and Zion, but just respect and appreciate the next generation of basketball that's to come.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be pretty exciting. Speaking of awards, though, let's get right into it. We're going to start off with our NBA predictions. We're going to be going over our conference finals matchup, and who we think's going to win it all. And then we're going to go over our awards. I'll start off, though.
Oof.
We'll start off with the Western Conference because I think it's probably going to be similar. We're probably going to have the same matchup.
Okay.
Probably going to be Lakers, Clippers. Safest bet. There doesn't seem to be any, like, there's the Lakers up top. The Clippers are slightly below. Then there's kind of like a gap. And then there's like the Nuggets and all the other West teams.
I agree. I I can't agree anymore. I mean, it's obviously we saw the Clippers just beat the Lakers game 1 like we just talked about. These 2 teams are gonna be battling and getting better, and watch throughout the season. Just watch as they play each other, the level of competition, the gritty play, the scuffles. Watch, because these 2 teams know they are it. They're it. It's gonna be one versus the other down to the I mean, there's other good teams in the West. Do not get me wrong. Utah's always a competitor. You'll have your Denver, maybe Houston, maybe Dallas. Those are all maybes. To me, I agree. Lakers, Clippers in the Western Conference matchup.
Eastern Conference matchup. Who do you have?
This one's tough. The East is so unpredictable because of how bad the East generally is. The East is getting better. The East is getting better. Now, if we are talking about everybody staying healthy, nobody gets hurt, right? Because obviously our predictions last year, we've seen people get hurt. It changes things. As is with a healthy matchup, I'm going Brooklyn, and I'm going to go. This is tough. I'm going to go Brooklyn. And I think that they are going to match up against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's tough because I want Atlanta so bad. I think Atlanta is so good. And I think Milwaukee is so good. I think Milwaukee actually probably more than Atlanta. But I have this weird feeling that Milwaukee is just got to push to 7 games again or 6 games in like the divisional round before the conference finals, and they're going to get beat out by like Boston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Who's your matchup?
I have the exact same. I was hoping you would
Oh
say
man.
someone else besides Boston. I was between Brooklyn or Boston and the Bucks.
Yeah.
But the Celtics just have such more of a complete basketball team.
Yeah.
They aren't just going through one player. Tatum's amazing. Jaylen Brown's great, but they play team basketball. They have a great supporting cast. The Bucks, come playoff time, you can't rely on just Giannis. You got to have guys step up. And I just don't feel like they still have those pieces. Other teams like the 76ers, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, it just doesn't look great. I think the 76ers should probably be one of the teams going after James Harden. And honestly, throw in Ben Simmons if you can. I sent you a video of how Ben Simmons is getting worse as a shooter.
Yeah.
And James Harden working with Joel Embiid, I feel like it's just going to be way better. But
it's going to
like
work.
The Hawks, I don't feel like they're there yet. It's between the Nets, Celtics, and Bucks, and the Bucks are just the one team out of it. What about the Miami Heat? They're the reigning champions or the Eastern Conference champions. Again, on paper, they kind of just don't look great. They caught heat at the right moment, kind of like their name.
Having heart and being gritty only gets you so far. It only gets you so far. And let's face it, they beat a team, like you just mentioned, in Milwaukee, who relied 95% on Giannis and the other 5% on Chris Middleton. When the other guys don't step up, they fail. Boston, as you mentioned, plays that team basketball. Marcus Smart is another X factor. Miami could be good. They're going to be they're a playoff team. There's no doubt about it. They should be. When you're talking about the other teams that are there and the fact that they did just lose to Orlando, who isn't a bad team. Orlando's been kind of a quietly good team the past year or two. You rely heavily on Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson being lights out. You're not going to get 25 points from Bam Adebayo every game. He's probably, I would say, an 18-10 guy. And then Jimmy Butler doesn't score a lot every game. Are they a good team? Are they a playoff team? Yes. But I just don't see it either, man. I just feel like heart only gets you so far when you're facing super talented teams with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. You're talking about guys who have been there, done that, won championships, and you add in the talent around them. It's just I don't see it from Miami. I think Miami and Philadelphia, 2 teams that are talented, but it's just not it. It's not it.
Finals matchup Who do you got? I think we're gonna have the same picks right here. Again,
Oh man,
tough outcomes.
that's very tough. Again, no injuries at all. Oh man, that's tough. Who would I bet my money on? I would have to say I think my predictions this year is going to be Lakers again, but this time against Brooklyn, and it's going to be LeBron against Kyrie. And not only is he facing an ex teammate who they kind of had a little breakout there in the media, not only that, the fact that Kyrie said, I finally have somebody I can rely on in the fourth quarter to shoot the ball in Kevin Durant. It's a guy who, and Kevin Durant dominated LeBron James when he was with Golden State. So I, not only as a fan, want to see that, but I personally think that those two teams have the complete makeup and talented players to push into the finals.
Hmm.
Who's your matchup?
I got the same. I have the Nets. I have the Nets winning though. I don't know if you have the same. I feel like the Nets.
I think they can. I think they have the complete team. Yeah,
Yeah.
hands down, hands down.
People are underrating the Nets right now, and in the finals, matchup, you have LeBron and AD going up against Kyrie and KD. I just think the Nets have a very solid team. They have a good bench, just like the Lakers, but they shoot the ball better. They're going to shoot it better.
They are. Yep.
And the end of the day, that'll be the factor.
At the end of the day. Yep. I mean, with KD, high efficient scorer inside, outside clearly. His pull up is still like he's doing it in this game. In the first game of the season, his pull up. Nobody can defend his pull up. He's a 7-footer getting off the ground. You can't block him. He's like the lengthiest guy on the court at all times. And he shoots lights out. Kyrie, with obviously his offensive minded, he's a true point guard. He facilitates his handles. He's able to play inside. He can shoot the three when he has to. Yeah, and then you add in Karis LeVert, you add in the DeAndre Jordan, you add in Jarrett Allen, who had 2 blocks in the game in minimum time.
Dinwiddie.
I like Spencer Dinwiddie. Yes, Dinwiddie, who we've seen in Chicago before. Joe Harris, who just got a huge contract. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't realize why Joe Harris got a huge contract because he's there for a reason. He's going to play his role. He's going to be in there in situations to help them win games. Those are the guys that get paid. Wait on it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have this? Who do you have as the winner?
I think the Nets are going to win. I think the East is going to bring it home. I don't know if the Lakers they'll push 6 or 7 games for sure. It's going to be 6 or 7 games. But I just see as long as the health is there, as long as Durant stays healthy and Kyrie, both have got to stay healthy. If one of the two teams do end up losing somebody, then there's no chance at all, obviously. But I see the Nets winning it in 6 or 7 games for sure. Maybe 7. It might end up being 7 games, and it might be a last-second shot by Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving again. And if it happens, let's go back to this and let's put this clip on that episode.
Man, we could be overreacting due to game number 1 in their preseason, but man, that team just looks so good. 1 through 8 or 9, however big their rotation is.
Oh yeah,
just so good. And they have the best chance of making the finals. I'm not going to say that because the East does have a couple powerhouses with Milwaukee and Boston. They just have to get the right path to the finals, but I think they can do it. They got 2 cold-blooded killers on their team.
Yep. Who have won before. So, but now let's get to award winners. Predictions for, we mentioned MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, comeback player. We already talked about. We're kind of mutual on the comeback player.
Most improved.
Or I'm sorry, not comeback. Most improved. Yes.
And
NBA is
actually, I'm changing it to John Morant. John Morant could be most improved this.
I agree. After looking at that stat and realizing 44, I didn't realize he only averaged 17 points a game last year. I did not realize that because in his run for the playoffs, he was putting up such good numbers.
Yeah. So
You
if
know
he could put
what?
up like 28 points per game and get his assist numbers up, I think he takes it home easily.
I agree. I agree. I don't know if Michael Porter's going to get the playing time. That's who I originally had.
Hmm.
If Ja Morant takes his team to the playoffs, which there's a good chance, and he does this every night. You're talking a guy who just put up almost 50 points. If he puts up half of that, if he puts up 25 points a game and continues to put up 9 assists, and he leads this team to the playoffs, to me, that's a recipe for most improved, hands down. So I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna go
Hmm.
with Ja Morant.
MVP though, who is your MVP?
I love Giannis, and I think Giannis, to be honest, is gonna keep putting up numbers to win it every year for his career. But there is a man down in Dallas who is continuing to adapt, continuing to better his game, even though it's already excellent. Luka Doncic is my MVP for this season. He's going to put up numbers no matter who's on the court with him. When Kristaps is on the court, when he's off the court, Luka is just the guy. It is going to require them to make the playoffs, which I think the bottom three in the West is very weak. Dallas was a contender last year. I'm pretty sure they made the playoffs last
Yeah,
year.
they did.
And Luka did it in the playoffs. He had a huge game winner. I think that Luka is the MVP of the 2020-2021 NBA season.
Okay. That's a very solid guess. I am gonna go. This has to play out well. I hope that he gets enough minutes to play this year. People love the storylines. Kevin Durant.
Okay.
He comes
Okay.
back from an injury. He hasn't played in 500, I think it was 60 days. He comes back, puts up 28, almost 30 points a game. He gets enough rebounds and assists. The Nets finish with like a 1 seed in the East. The storyline for that would be awesome. And I think Kevin Durant would get enough votes to do that. But Luka, he has the hype. He has all the hype around him. If Luka averages 32 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, of course he's going to get it. But I'm going to go with Durant. The problem that he'll run into, though, is maybe load management a little bit. And also, if that team's good, he won't play like second halves or like the fourth quarter of games. So it
I
just
agree.
depends.
I agree. Kevin
But
Durant has a chance of being MVP. Kyrie does not. I don't see Kyrie ever being an MVP. Not because he's bad. He's not. He just isn't it. He doesn't have that same factor that a Kevin Durant has. He hasn't really been much the last couple of years. Obviously, only time will tell. But for right now, yeah, if Durant ends up logging the minutes and is in close battles more times than not, and puts up the numbers, sure, I can definitely see him doing it. And like you said, because of the story, everybody loves a good storyline. And who doesn't want to see him go up and accept another MVP and thank his mom again? I mean, that was
mm-hmm.
incredible, right? So I'm going to stand firm with Luka. I think Durant is definitely top 5 in my eyes. LeBron's always going to be a top voter. Anthony Davis is actually predicted up there. He's up there right now. I'm sure there's going to be some surprise guys up there too. Obviously, it all depends. MVP relies heavily on how did your team do? Because if you average 30 points a game, or you end up being a Devin Booker on a Suns team where you're not really making the playoffs, you get overlooked. I mean, that's just it at the end of the day. So, but I'm pretty confident that Dallas, if they can I think they can make the playoffs. If the Nets, if they ball out and end up as the number 1, though, I mean, Durant to me is a LeBron James when it comes to the publicity. So,
Mm-hmm. Rookie of the year. We'll go
rookie
over
of the
this.
year.
I'll start first with this one. And honestly, this is kind of like a long shot pick. I've thought
It
about it.
is.
I've thought about it a little bit here. I am going to go with Denny Avdija. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But Denny with the Washington Wizards. Why do I think this? He's on a pretty decent team. He has Russell Westbrook, who puts up triple doubles, which means he's passing the ball around. Denny, in the 2 games I've seen from him, he went 6 for 6 in a preseason game. Yesterday's game, he had 7 points, 4 rebounds, 2 of 2 shooting. He went 1 of 2 from the line.
Yep.
I think this guy is efficient. He's already playing. He's played at a decent level overseas. and his efficiency and that system he's in, he'll score more points as the year goes on. He scored
I
7
agree.
here. He's going to get more involved in the offense. He's starting, which is good as well. I just think due to that, he could put up 15, 16 points a game and get that MVP or the rookie of the year.
I agree. I'm with you on that. I think he's going to be stellar. I think what I'm sold on or not sold on is the fact that they have so many young, talented weapons, like
Mm-hmm.
so many, like Troy Brown Jr. I just remember was going off every game in that final 8-game stretch for the playoffs in Orlando. I think of like Bertans, who I mean, obviously is a different position. Burton's a different position, but Danny has what it takes. Like you said, he played at a high level. He has Russell Westbrook, who's going to average I wouldn't be surprised if he averages 14 assists a game. He's got to be passing the ball more than 14 times a game, right? So I can see it. I'm going to go out and say James Wiseman. I'm going to say James Wiseman. Nothing like a big guy who's going to get the start, who's going to get the playing time over pretty much any other guy on the team at that position. Steph Curry, depending on how the season goes, we've seen him get shut down for various reasons. I think that they do have a team to compete. So I don't know if Steph Curry will get shut down, but James Wiseman is NBA ready. Watching him play, I know he's a big guy. He's like a 7-footer. When you actually see him with the NBA players, you're like, wow, he is actually a big guy. When you see them step on the court for the first time, and he's using his body, I think he's going to develop as the year goes. Steph Curry's going to go off. And that's somebody we didn't even mention for the MVP talk because Steph Curry without Klay Thompson isn't necessary. They can win without a Klay. I mean, I don't want to say they can, but without Klay, they still have a good team. I think James Wiseman's going to step it up. He's going to end up logging more minutes. He's at a position where he can easily average 20 and 10, maybe 12 rebounds a game. So that's going to be my prediction right there. That's somebody that I wanted the Bulls to get. Obviously he landed with Golden State, which is good for him. And I think Steve Kerr is gonna figure out a way to utilize him. He's never really had a great center or a talented center at that, besides
Mm-hmm.
Boogie, who got hurt. So
Pretty safe pick there. Him. Obi Toppin is probably a decent pick.
mhm.
Because he's in New York, he's a big man. There's no really like other scoring options. You have RJ Barrett, but like he'll get a lot of minutes logged there. Patrick Williams, probably not going to be a bad guy because he's going to be starting.
Yeah.
It just really depends how he develops. If
Yep.
he develops well and plays in the starting rotation with the Bulls and they start clicking, then sure. But he's kind of like a long shot there as well. You just got to look for guys that start and put up like 15 points a game. Like if LaMelo could put up 15 points and average 8 assists and 6 boards, he would get Rookie of the Year. No doubt about it.
Oh, hands down.
Especially with the hype he has, but it's just his shooting. So that's our pick for that. Defensive Player of the Year. This one's kind of tough because it could be a random player. Sometimes it's just the star that has the numbers. Like we did see Rudy Gobert put up numbers one year, and he ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year. Marc Gasol won it one year when maybe that was a toss-up year. Defensive Player of the Year, kind of a toss-up. I am just going to go with Anthony Davis. He had a good chance to win it last year. He's on a good team again. His defense will show in LA, especially because a lot of eyes are on him. So I'll just go with him, especially because Giannis has won it already a few times.
I'm gonna go with, I actually was gonna just say Rudy Gobert because he's won it multiple times. I'm gonna go with one that is a grinder in the paint. And I think he has an opportunity. He has a big opportunity. I mean, it's a defensive minded team. We saw a huge block in the playoffs last year. I
Ooh.
think if the numbers are up and his rebounds stay up, he doesn't have to score a lot, even though he had a huge first game. I'm going to go with Bam Adebayo, who is so versatile and athletic. He gets up there. He had adult 17 and 10 last year. He averaged almost a block a game with 1.1 steals. I am willing to bet he is going to be more intense on the defensive side, especially after what we saw in the playoffs. If he can keep the rebounds up and make a difference on this team to help them win, I think he can be Defensive Player of the Year. I want to go Rudy Gobert because that's an easy pick, but I'm going to go with a wild card here. And I'm going Bam Adebayo.
That's one that didn't even hit my mind. Like, if he could just get the blocks up a little bit,
Yeah.
he's for sure, he has a chance to get it.
He plays two positions. He plays literally power forward and center a lot of times. So I think it's very, very well possible, especially with that team. They such a defensive minded team. Jimmy Butler obviously is great defensively, but when it comes to, defensive player of the year, they look at defensive rebounding a lot. Rebounds matter. So if he averages this 11, maybe pushes somehow to 12 with adds a block and a half, I think he can do it. I think he could definitely do it.
Coach of the year and like executive of the year, that'll be closer to the playoff times. It's kind of hard to predict. It's basically just pick the best team. Like, we could easily say Steve Nash, first year in the league, his team gets the number 1 seed, boom, it's there. But coach of the year, kind of don't really want to predict that.
We'll predict that. Let's do the halfway point. Let's say for
Mhm.
All-Star break or whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah. Like
I'm down
the
for
30
that.
the 36 game mark, if there isn't like an all-star game or whatever this year. But we'll go
So,
over that then.
yep.
For basketball news, though, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We will talk about James Harden and all the other teams next week, see what's up with that. Moving over to football to finish it up. Final couple weeks.
We are there,
A lot of
guys.
teams are in the playoff picture still, including the Bears. The Bears are
Including the Bears.
7-7.
What have I been saying, Healy? Listeners, what have I been saying about the Bears? I've been saying a lot of good things. The Bears, if they win, if they get Mitch going, if they open up the run game and keep the pressure off Mitch, they're going to win football games. You get the defense a little bit more rest. David Montgomery's been going off. They're winning. They just beat Minnesota. Huge win, eliminated Minnesota. What it's going to come down to, they're 1 game back, which I don't know where the tiebreaker is. I think they might have it, is going to come down to the Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals right now have the last wild card spot, and the Arizona Cardinals last 2 games, as I mentioned, are super tough. They have the 49ers this Saturday, and they finish up with the Rams. Both teams are playing to win. 49ers, I think, are done. 49ers might have been eliminated already, but they're
Yeah.
still a tough team to play. They're still playing for pride. There's a lot going on there. So even if they beat the 49ers, the Rams want to secure the division, because if the Rams lose out the next 2 and the Cardinals end up winning the next 2, I think they end up taking the division, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but they're playing for a lot. And Seattle has the division right now at 10-4, so I think they'll end up taking it. But for that wild card spot, Cardinals can easily lose one of the next 2. What it's going to come down to is Chicago 2. It should be a for sure win against Jacksonville. That's their next game. Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Weather's nice. Jacksonville's defense is not the greatest. They're kind of okay. They're bad. They're bad. Let's put it that way. And their offense isn't good enough to move the ball in Chicago. Not that great. I'm going to say the Bears by 3.5 at least. If not, I don't even know what the spread is. I'm going to say like 7. But they play Green Bay the last week of the season, and Green Bay is going to be bringing it. Why? Because they want to secure the only 1-seeded bye for the NFC that they're battling with the Saints. Currently, Green Bay has the number 1 seed. They want to keep it. So it's crucial that the Bears beat Jacksonville this game with the mindset that they might lose to Green Bay. We don't know. The Bears are a weird team. They have Green Bay's number sometimes. But if they beat Jacksonville and say it's going to come down to the Cardinals at the end of the day. Cardinals have to lose 1 game. Cardinals have got to lose at least 1 game. The Bears, I don't know if they have it. The Bears would have to win out. It's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be super tough. It's going to be super tough. Bears have to win out. Cardinals have to lose 1 game. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. What's your prediction there?
I think the Bears will barely miss out on the playoffs, which is super unfortunate considering they started off the season 5-1. There is some hope though. There's a fun fact: the 28.3 points per game that they're scoring under Mitch Trubisky starting is the most in the Super Bowl era for them. Also, The Bears in the past 3 weeks have scored 20 or more points in the first half for 3 straight games. Last time they did that, 1967.
Wow.
So it's been a long time since they put up points in the half. And the game plan's working with Trubisky. It seems like he's getting a lot of confidence. Their defense, let's just hope they win this week. We'll talk more about it next week, but I know Green Bay really wants to win, and they put up a bunch of points against the Bears last time, but pretty sure, was Foles still starting that, or was Trubisky, was that like his first game?
I'm pretty sure Trubisky played. Trubisky, yeah, because that was the first game. The first play of the game was Montgomery.
Was
With
Nagy,
the
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 offensive
play
coordinator?
caller, I think might have been still Nagy.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but Trubisky was back.
All right. So there could be a
Yeah.
chance. I think this is going to be in Chicago, week
Yes,
17.
it's in Chicago. It's in Chicago, January 3rd. It's gonna be cold. Obviously, both teams play in the cold, but it's gonna be huge because Green Bay is playing on Sunday night against Tennessee, who's been hot. I expect the king, the running back leader, the rushing leader right now, Derrick Henry to probably run for over 100 yards and with ease, because that's just how he is against every team he plays right now. It's going to be a good game. So I don't know if Green Bay is going to have what it takes to beat Tennessee. Tennessee's been hot. I still think Green Bay's offense just is second to none. So I think that is going to get them going. But the Bears have to worry because if Green Bay does lose to Tennessee, Green Bay is in a must win now against Chicago. It's a must win. With the Saints, obviously the Saints, they have who are they playing?
The Vikings on Friday, which is tomorrow.
Okay. So the Vikings really don't have much to play for, but they're still not a bad team. They still have Justin Jefferson, who's going off. They have Dalvin Cook, who's going off. Kirk Cousins. They're playing for pride at this point. And let's face it, the Saints didn't look too hot last week. They barely moved the football. So I think that with the Saints going into Minnesota, if the Saints win and the Packers somehow lose, it does definitely affect the Chicago Bears because that last week Green Bay now isn't a must win. You're going to see all of Aaron Rodgers every single quarter.
Seattle's 10 and
So,
4 as well.
and Seattle's right there. Exactly. Seattle's right there. Seattle's 10 and 4. So, I mean, obviously Seattle, they have kind of a tough schedule with closing up. They have, who are they playing this week?
Seattle, the Rams.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we just talked about it. Seattle has LA. LA's playing to win. So we'll see what ends up happening there. There's just so many outcomes that could happen right now. Even though there's 2 weeks left, nothing is guaranteed. And I'm telling you right now, Chicago's got to give it their all. They've got to continue with this scheme that they're running. They've got to establish the run game, make it comfortable for Trubisky to run the play actions, for him to scramble out and do what he has to do. The defense is going to step up. They make plays. So I'm excited. Last 2 weeks of football is always fun, especially when there's change this year and there's only one team per conference with that first round bye. It's huge. It's huge.
We're going to have football all weekend. Minnesota and New Orleans on Friday. Saturday, there's 3 games, including Tampa Bay playing again. You got San Fran and Arizona, and then you have the Miami Dolphins and Raiders. That's going to be a great matchup. And then Sunday, Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. Juju Smith no longer dancing on the logos. Was that the problem? I don't think so, but he is stopping with that. He got lit up against the Bengals the other day because the defenses love when players do that because it gives them a reason to go out there and just hit you.
Exactly. And let's not forget Steelers. Yeah, they were a great team to start. They're on a losing streak. It just goes to show strength of schedule makes a difference. Don't just look at a 12-0 team or even a 10-0 team, and then you look at a team that's maybe 7-3 and think, oh, they're just better because of schedule or because of their record. The schedule makes a difference. Makes a huge difference. And definitely that was a huge wake-up call for Juju. He even said he's done doing it, done doing the TikTok dances. It was kind of cool to see, but it is very disrespectful. Clearly, he's gotten a lot of backlash over it. So that's definitely got to be a good matchup because the Colts were part of my prediction for that division. They're 10-4. Baltimore, Baltimore's right there as well. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Some other notable matchups. Obviously, we talked about the Bears. Baltimore and the Giants. The Giants are playing for the playoffs right now as well. Right now they are 5-9. I'm pretty sure they're leading the
No,
NFC East. Or is the Cowboys back?
Washington
Oh,
was six and
Washington. I'm
eight.
sorry. That's right. Washington has been hot. Their defense is really good. Run game. If Antonio Gibson, if he ends up playing, obviously he's been hurt. Didn't have too good of a last game after he came back. So that's. I mean, I hate to say it, it's kind of a notable game to watch because you never know what you're going to get out of the East, as bad as they are.
Then you got Philadelphia and Dallas playing.
They are also, yep.
They're fighting for a chance. Philly, kind of, if Philly wins out and Washington loses out, Philly makes it due to that tie.
That's crazy. That's so
But
crazy.
they need every single team in the division pretty much to lose out and get at least like 6 wins. Dallas, if they win, they could be tied for the division. It's just a toss-up for that NFC East, which is crazy.
Mhm.
They were a 320 or a 425 game. Los Angeles Rams and Seahawks are a 425 game. Sunday nights, Tennessee and Green Bay, and then Monday night, not as good of a matchup as we probably saw early on in the year, but it's Buffalo and New England. Buffalo clinched the division, and New England, are they out of the playoffs? I think they are.
Yeah, I think they were officially eliminated after last week.
So they are done. They have a lot of high win teams there.
Yep.
But yeah, they are officially out of the hunt. Unfortunate to see, but that's just how it is. The era in New England, it appears to be over. We'll have to see how Bill Belichick manages. And next week, I guess next week we'll still be talking about football. The week after is when we're going to be doing our playoff bracket.
Yes.
Predicts who wins. We're also going to be going back over in a couple weeks our predictions for the NFL season, where we went over, I believe, the division winners. We went over maybe someone who gets an MVP and then who's going to win the Super Bowl. So that'll be fun to go over. Hope you guys are ready for that as well. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Standing Room Only podcast. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you download on the platform you're listening on. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like the video. Best way to show support. You follow our social media page at SROnlyPod on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow our personal pages. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Healy6 and YouTube and Twitch at Healy6.
Yes, and I'm iGoose with 4 O's. As always, don't ask why. I'm on Instagram. I am on Twitch. I am on Twitter as well. Go ahead and check me out. And one last thing, happy holidays, guys. Have a happy new year. I think our next episode will be before the new year, but have a happy new year anyways, guys.